Genesis chapter 2. Let me get to it. Creation completed. God rests on the seventh day. Prior spirit creation explained. Adam and Eve placed in Garden of Eden. They are forbidden to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Adam names every living creature. Adam and Eve are married by the Lord. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. There is a footnote here on one is where it says rested. The footnote here is alternate Hebrew translation, stopped or ceased, from the verb shavat. The noun Sabbath means a stopping or cessation or an ending. So this wasn't just, him kicking his feet up. He was saying the work is done. I don't need to do more work today. On the seventh day, it ended. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Now this is an interesting point as well, that the seventh day is when he rested. And in the Hebrew calendar, the Sabbath would have been the equivalent to modern Saturday, not Sunday. And that is something else that will come up later on in the New Testament, but it means a stopping or cessation, meaning the Sabbath was the end of the week. Each week completes or ends or stops with the Sabbath. That was the original meaning. I find that interesting. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created, and the day that the Lord God made the earth and the heavens. I want to mention this again. This comes up a couple of times in the book of Genesis, this phrase, these are the generations of, and I've read the theory, it's what they call, what is it called again? Toledoth. Toledoth, that's what it is, Toledoth. And this is a break in the narrative, not a break, but a change in the narrative. We're changing perspectives, and the theory goes, and I tend to agree with the theory that the first section up to this point, Genesis chapter 1 through chapter 2, verse 3, is the Lord's account of the creation. Now we are changing perspectives to hear Adam's perspective of the creation and what he witnessed, what he saw, and how he viewed the creation. So keep that in mind. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. But there went up a mist from the earth, and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. A couple of notes here. Note, it was before they were in the earth. He created them before they grew. This is what they mean when it says the spirit creation explained in the heading. This is what they're talking about. That before the physical life was made, before the physical plants grew, before the physical animals, they had already been created in spirit. Another note here says, God formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and the man became a living soul. A living soul does not refer to the spirit. It refers to the union of spirit and body. The soul by itself can mean the spirit, but a living soul is one that has a physical tabernacle, a physical body to house that spirit. That's what a living soul is. So that I find that also very interesting. And also going back, I mentioned before that the firmament separated the water from above from the water below, so there was no rain, and this confirms this. There was no, had not caused it to rain upon the earth, but a mist rose out of the ground and moved across the ground. Rose out of the water and moved across the land to water the land. That's how the land was watered. It was watered by the dew, by a morning mist that would rise off the water, off the ocean, and bring water to the dry land. So, continuing. Let me adjust my camera just a touch here. Oh well. And the Lord God planted a garden eastward in Eden, and there he put the man whom he had formed. And out of the ground made the Lord God to grow every tree that is pleasant in the sight, and good for food, and the tree of life also in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And a river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from thence it was parted and became into 4 heads. So this is the river. Its source is in the Garden of Eden, flows out, and then divides into 4 different branches. Now I will note here again is after Adam is placed in the garden that the trees and the plants begin to grow. They were created spiritually first, now they are growing. The name of the first is Pison, that is, it which compasseth the whole land of Havilah, where there is gold. And the gold of that land is good. There is bdellium and the onyx stone. And the name of the second river is Gihon, the same is it that compasseth the whole land of Ethiopia. And the name of the third river is Hiddekel, that is it which goeth toward the east of Assyria. And the fourth river is Euphrates. Now, one note you got to know here now. Of course, the Euphrates River, there is a Euphrates River in the Middle East. There is also a land of Ethiopia. There's a land of Assyria. I don't know of a land of Havilah. Might be, I'm not sure. But these lands are not the same as what is being described here. This is happening not only before the flood, but before the fall. We can't assume that everything remained the same. And we know from modern revelation that the Garden of Eden was in the state of Missouri in the United States. So even though they have the same name, it does not mean they are the same location, the same river, what have you. Now, another note, Ethiopia is an alternate Hebrew translation, again, is the land of Cush. The name means the same, but again, not necessarily the same as the land that exists after the flood. Anyways, and the Lord God took the man and put him into the Garden of Eden to dress it and to keep it. And the Lord God commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest thereof thou shalt surely die. We'll come back to this idea later in chapter 3. And the Lord God said, it is not good that the man should be alone. I will make him an helpmeet for him. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field, and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. And Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found an helpmeet for him. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs, and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. And Adam said, this is now bone of my bones, and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother, and shall cleave unto his wife, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his wife, and were not ashamed. Now, some people will claim that this is a second creation account, that it gives a different order, plants, man was created, then animals. But again, like I said, we have that Toledoth in the beginning of the chapter, and that shows that this is not a different creation, but this is just Adam's perspective. Adam is now writing the account. And he is saying, when I was first created, when I first woke up in this physical body, I was alone. God had planted this garden. The tree started to grow. I tilled it, I kept it, but I was alone. And God said that wasn't good, so he brought all these animals. But there was no companion, and so he brought the woman. There you go. This is now Adam's story. And when we see it in this perspective, there is no contradiction, there's no second creation. It is just, there's the creation, and then there's Adam's experience in the early part of his, not mortal yet, yes, they're still in the garden, but his physical life, his early part of his physical existence. He is now describing what is going on. And I'm going to leave that there, and we will look at Moses chapter